I'm going to pause it.
There we go. So as Marianne mentioned, this morning we are holding a CalSMART ATP reporting webinar to get folks on board with the reporting process for their ATP projects. Next slide here. So joining me this morning, and they'll be presenting at various points in this, is our Data and Reporting and Performance Branch Manager, Dancy Yang. You might have seen her in the past if you have already had an ATP project reporting to us. I'm Tim Paterka. I am an ATP reporting coordinator here at Caltrans. So I handle all the reports that you'll be submitting. And I also have on the line here, Dalia Patarse, who's another ATP reporting coordinator. And we are the ATP headquarters staff that handles the reporting side. So that's who we are. Those are our contacts there. You could also find us online if you need to contact us directly. So for today, I'll be giving a presentation of the reporting guidelines, what you need to be submitting in CalSMART, the types of reports, when you'll be able to report. And then we'll go to showing the resources on our ATP reporting webpage. There's a lot of stuff there to help agencies through the reporting process. You know, what to report, when, how do we do things? It's all there on the reporting webpage. And Dancy will be also taking everybody through a step-by-step tutorial on CalSMART itself to show how to report and fill in the different fields in the different sections of the report. And at the end, we'll have some time to answer your questions that you may have submitted in the chat or that you may think of at the end. So that's what we have on hand for today. So you're here in this webinar, you have a project that's been adopted into the ATP program, and by being adopted into the ATP program, you're also required to submit reports to Caltrans to report on progress of that project and that program. Right, so this is to meet the SB1 accountability and transparency guidelines, and ultimately the goal of the guidelines is to ensure that through these reports that the project is being executed on time, that it's being built within budget, and that it also is, you know, delivering the scope and the benefits that were identified in the application. So it's really just about providing us with information to be able to determine, you know, have you done the project like you said? Have you done it within budget and within the time frame specified? So that's what these reports are about. And again, we have plenty of resources on the reporting website and on our local assistance website for additional details. So in terms of the roles in ATP reporting, just to kind of make it clear, what is the role of Caltrans ATP HQ? What are Dancy, Dolly, and I supposed to be doing? Well, we're really providing reporting support to you all, answering your questions. If you have issues with CalSMART, if you have questions about what you need to fill in, you know, doing training and webinars like we are doing today, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And when the reporting periods come around and you get those reports submitted, we're also the folks who are reviewing the reports for completeness and for accuracy and giving you feedback and saying, you know, please also fill out this. Did you mean to do this? So we're here to, you know, help you out and check, the reports when they come in. And essentially your role as recipient agencies is just to make sure that you are submitting those reports on CalSMART to meet those accountability and transparency guidelines. So we're really here to back you up and make sure that you can get those reports submitted to us. Right, so I mentioned earlier that there are different types of reports that are required in the reporting guidelines. The bulk of the time that you will be reporting to Caltrans, you'll be submitting the first type of report here, these progress reports here in purple. These are due quarterly, and there are always automated reminders that go out before the reporting period to let you know, hey, a reporting period is coming up. You know, prepare, get your data and get your information together, and get that ready to go. So those progress reports are due from the time you are adopted to, over the course of, 1 to whatever, how many years until you are to submit to us a completion report. So that's due within 6 months of construction or the consultant contract acceptance, or if the project becomes operable, or if you have a non-infrastructure component, all your non-infrastructure activities are complete, whichever comes first. And you only need to submit that once at the end when you've met one of these conditions. If you are new and your project has been only recently adopted in the latest cycle, this is much farther down the line. So we really encourage you years from now when you are getting ready to get to the end of your project to contact us again. If you have any questions about what you need to submit, when you should be completing stuff, what you need to be doing. And finally, after the completion report, you should also be submitting a final delivery report, which is due within 6 months of the completion of all project activities. So that includes the final invoicing and also the after user counts, which you should be completing using the interim count guidance. There's also some supplemental information and documents on our website that need to be submitted. And this is, again, another report that you need to submit only once. Again, this one is due far down the line if you are only starting your project now. And on the topic of counts, you need to complete them before you start construction, and they'll be due in your progress report over the course of time. So please also contact us if you have questions about the counts. How do you complete them? When should I complete them? Those are things you should be considering when you are submitting your progress reports, because how you choose to do them at the start of your project to do your before counts, which is just counting the users of infrastructure or how many people are participating in a program. How you do those at the beginning directly affects how you do them at the end of the project. So it takes some coordination and some foresight to be able to plan that in the best way that will work for you. So when can reports be submitted? For progress reports, these ones that are due quarterly, you can only submit them during a 15-day reporting window. So that when the automated reporting notification goes out saying, here comes the reporting window, that's cluing you in that we are opening the 15-day reporting period for you to submit the reports. At headquarters, we have about 10 days to review those reports and send them back to you if necessary to say, please make an edit here. Please also provide this information. And it gives you some time to make those corrections by the end of that 10th day. Right, so we only accept these progress reports during the 15-day reporting window. We don't have the ability to open that window back up. So if you do miss that window, unfortunately, you won't be able to submit a progress report for that quarter. So it's really important that you prepare early and that you make sure that you can get those reports in during that window. Later, when you are submitting completion or final delivery reports, you can submit those at any time, and there's no need to wait for a reporting window. Okay. All right, so in terms of reporting, where do you report? You can go to calsmart.ca.gov to create your reports. You should go in there and create an account. And anyone with an account linked to your agency will receive the CalSMART reporting reminders. So if there are multiple staff members who have accounts, they're all going to get the updates and the notification saying that the reporting window is coming up. One thing that we really encourage everybody to do is to ensure if there's turnover or if there's some people out, is to make sure that more than one person has a CalSMART account and can access and create and prepare the report. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't really have the ability to open up that reporting window again. So you have to submit the report during that 15-day period. And so please make sure you have coverage and people who are able to submit and prepare it if somebody else is out. And as ever, if you have questions about how do we do that, who should be, the best resources for that, please contact us at ATP headquarters and we'll help you answer your questions and make sure that you can get your reports in. I will say it is really helpful to do that earlier in the process rather than at the end of the 15-day reporting window. If it's something technical, we're running against a hard deadline if you are asking us questions on the 14th or 15th day. So really encourage you to submit your questions early so we can troubleshoot and make sure that you can get your reports in. And you might have, hopefully you've received your notification that a reporting window is coming up on October 1st, and we'll close on October 16th. And this is just the calendar for each of the reporting windows as they come up through the year. These do not change. They are always at the same time. So please plan accordingly, share your notifications among multiple members of staff that these deadlines are coming up so people are aware if you need coverage during these reporting periods. Again, it always opens on the first day of the month of a reporting period and will close usually on the 15th. Sometimes there's leeway if the deadline is on a weekend, the reporting window will open for like another day. But in general, it goes from the 1st to the 15th. So please get your reports, your progress reports, sent in on time. Yeah, and what we have here in the bottom is just those same reminders to make sure that there's coverage. Creating those reminders, just making sure that you have what you need to make sure that more than one person can submit those reports, and a shorting of staff, sick staff is not a legitimate reason for missing out on those reports. So we really want to emphasize making sure that there's coverage on that so you are able to get your reports in on time. And I think that's all we have there. And we're going to switch to Dancy, who'll be showing the CalSMART system and walking you through the actual mechanics of using that website to report on your projects.
All right, thank you, Tim, and hello, everyone. Again, my name is Dancy Yang, for those that haven't met me yet or are new to the ATP. I am going to have Mary Ann run the polls really quick. Just going to run the polls to see who's actually paying attention. So if you're not, don't answer. Okay, first question. What is the due date of this progress reporting period? Fiscal year, 23-24, quarter one. So is it next year? Is it the next commission meeting when the project allocates its first program funds? Or is it October 16th, 2023? And again, it's the due date. Marian, I think you have to run the polls. I don't think I have the ability to on my end.
That is correct. I'm just waiting for a couple more and then I'll stop the poll and then show the results.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. So it looks like 99% of you got the correct answer, and that is October 16th, 2023.
Do you want me to run the second poll as well? A second
Yes.
quiz?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and run through all of them.
Three. Okay.
Okay, second quiz question. Are quick build projects required to be reported in the CalSMART system? Oh, I don't think I went through the quick builds in this one yet. I'm sorry, you guys. Thought it was a part of the presentation. So quick build projects, for those that are on here and were funded for quick build projects, they're a little bit different from the regular active transportation projects. And again, I apologize. I had thought it was a part of the PowerPoint. But quick build projects, they are not required to report in the CalSMART system because again, they're quick build projects. They're new to the ATP program. And so those that are funded for quick build projects, you get a reminder email through the Caltrans folks. And I think one just went out from Dahlia Patarse a couple of days ago to those that are do have quick build projects. So for those that have quick build projects, they fill out an Excel form that asks similar questions to CalSMART, but they are a little bit different and catered through to just quick build. And then they have to submit those Excel forms to us. So the correct answer is that it is not in CalSMART, but is required via an Excel form. So again, I do apologize for that. Oh, a huge lot of you guys got that answer correct, even though it wasn't there. So I do appreciate that. 74%. Okay, can completion and final delivery reports be submitted only during an open reporting period? Let you guys answer that. There's only two options there. Let's see, so about 66% of you said no, they can be submitted at any time. About a little over 30% of you said yes during during an open reporting period. So completion and final delivery reports can be submitted at any time. So only progress reports are required to be submitted during an open reporting period. So again, those 4 times out of the year. It's only open for 15 days, and that is the only time those progress reports can be started and submitted. Whereas completion reports, because they can be completed at any time instead of just during their open reporting period, you may log into CalSMART when you're done with that project, and you can submit that completion report. And then also, again, at any time when you're done with the final invoices and stuff like that, you can then submit your final delivery report. And then I'll show you a little bit once we get into CalSMART what the difference is and stuff, because I know some of you get ask kind of questions through our ATP reporting webpage when you log in and it's not during an open reporting period and you wonder why you can only submit a completion or final delivery. When I show you the CalSMART system, you'll all kind of understand the way it works. I'm going to share my screen really quickly and then kind of go over the resources on our ATP reporting webpage.
Dancy, do you want to do the last quiz?
Oh, is there another one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought there was only 3 total. Okay, I missed the deadline to report progress. I should ignore and don't report, reach out to ATP reporting staff, or wait until the next reporting period. I asked this question because it's so important. When local agencies submit your progress reports, if you miss the reporting deadline, what I usually do is I then reach out to those that did not report. When I reach out, I have to know the reason. So when I reach out, I know some local agencies then go into CalSMART right away and then submit a completion report because that's the only option that's available. Please do not do that. And I was going to have you guys answer it, but I don't know if we went through it, so I'll just answer for you guys. Please do not go and log into CalSMART and try and submit a completion report. Thank you. 90% of you said reach out to ATP reporting staff. And the reason is, like Tim had mentioned, the CalSMART reporting system, we have no control over opening it or closing it. We are not the only program that is funded through SB1. We are just one of the programs among many. And so that reporting period that's open for those 15 days is true for every other program. And so when that report is then not submitted, we have to start tracking those that do not submit those reports. And again, in the SB1 accountability and transparency guidelines, it specifies that Caltrans need to report to the CTC those local agencies that did not submit a report and the reasons why. And so that's why we need to find out, why is it that you didn't report? We do our best in due diligence to reach out to local agencies. So if you have a CalSMART account, the CalSMART system will send you a 30 and 15-day reminder. The ATP program, out of due diligence, and it's not a part of the requirement, but we like to then also send a 2 or 1 day reminder to let you guys know that, hey, there's still a whole list of folks that didn't submit their report, please get them in. And we try our best to reach out as much as we can, but we can only do so much. And so even if you miss it by 1 day, we can't reopen it. And so please do submit it. We do report it to the CTC, but they're not going to put you on a watch list or anything unless you do it habitually. So please do not do it often, because we do have a list of those that do not submit. Okay, and I think that closes our poll, correct, Marianne?
Correct.
And again, I do apologize. There's some questions on there that we haven't gone through, but I'm going to start sharing my screen now. So not that one. All right, so for those of you who aren't familiar, if you want to go look up the ATP reporting webpage, I always tell folks that if you don't have the URL, the easiest thing you can do is go on Google and you type in California ATP. Most of the time, the first thing that's going to pop up is the CTC's website, and you can tell because it says California Transportation Commission, and then you'll see right below it. And again, it differs a little bit on the way you search, but the one that you do want to go to is the Caltrans one, and you always know that it's a Caltrans one because it says dot.ca.gov. Go ahead and click on that link, and then you'll be prompted into the website that's all about active transportation. But you want to go toggle to the right side here where it says ATP project reporting. You click on that, and this is where you have all of your useful information in regards to reporting. So again, in the very top, it goes over,
Nancy, we're seeing the login page for CalSMART. So we're not seeing a right-hand CTC, what you just described, which I know well, but there we go. Thanks.
There you go. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go back to, I thought we tested this out and it was fine, but I guess I was sharing the wrong one. Again, you go to Google, you type in California ATP. First one you're going to see is the CTC. The second one is the ATP program. Again, it says Caltrans. Click on it and it's going to take you right to the active transportation program. A ton of resources all about active transportation program. But if you want to look for information that's just specifically to reporting, toggle over on the right side here. And then it'll say ATP program reporting. And then on here, it starts off with just a little bit of background on why you're required to report and a couple of consequences if you don't. And then here in bold, it gives you information on counts as well. So if you want to look at the whole interim count guidance, you can here. And that has a full list of how you do your counts. So if your infrastructure, non-infrastructure plans, how large your project is and stuff, it has a detailed guidance on there. And then we always have the most updated reporting deadline on here. So right now our next reporting period is in October. And so we are on Q1 of fiscal year 23-24. CalSMART already sent out a 30-day notice. And I know when they send out that 30-day notice, it gets kind of confusing, but the SB1 guidelines require Caltrans to send out a 30-day notice. That does not mean that the CalSMART reporting period is open though. It's just a 30-day notice to let you know that it is now 30 days before your due date. So just remember that you're going to start reporting soon. The reporting period will not open until the 1st of October here. And so for some of you that got that notice, if you get confused and you log into CalSMART thinking that you can report, and then you only have like options to submit a completion or a final delivery, this is why we send out the 30-day notice so that you all can prepare, but it will not open until the 1st. And then again for October, your progress report is due on the 16th. And for those that were adopted by the MPOs for the cycle 6 in May and June, this will be your first reporting period. So I highly, highly recommend that as soon as October 1st opens, log into CalSMART and kind of toggle your way through so that if you have any questions, you can reach out to us ahead of time. If you do reach out to us on the 16th at 5 p.m. and we do not answer because we are all off of work, unfortunately, we won't be able to help you, and then you might not be able to submit your progress report. And then if you can't submit it, there's no way for us to reopen it to you all, unfortunately. So please do reach out to us ahead of time if you have any issues or any questions on CalSMART reporting. And then if you toggle a little bit down here, we have a reporting webinar and other useful resources. The last reporting webinar that we held was in March. And so we have the CalSMART reporting, the PowerPoint presentation that Timothy went over just earlier. We will post the one that we did today on there. Same thing for the recording. It will also be posted on here. So if you want to share it with all of your staff that comes in new throughout the months, please do let them know that there is an ATP reporting webpage out there that they can go and then watch this recording of the webinar. And then we have reporting Q&A. So a lot of frequently asked questions that local agencies have, we have all written down on a reporting Q&A. And then we get a whole ton of questions all the time about what is the difference between outcome versus outputs. And so we had built together a little bit of a difference here so that you all can share with your other local agencies or anybody that is interested. And then we also have an ATP user accounts data PowerPoint. So a couple of months ago, we had one of our engineers, her name is Teresa. She put together a PowerPoint, kind of like a cheat sheet for those user counts for the local agencies. Again, the interim count guidance you see up here is a full detail of everything, but this PowerPoint goes to the highlights if you just want to know the highlights. And then we also have a cheat sheet on counts, when to do them flow. And so a lot of the questions that we get is we know that there's counts, but we just want to know the flow of it in the CalSMART reporting system. When should we be doing them? And so this little link right here will show you when you submit a progress report, when you should be doing before counts, and then when you should be doing after counts, and then submitting the final delivery. And then we also have a before and after photo cheat sheet, because we know that a lot of agencies sometimes don't know what kind of photos to take. And so this little cheat sheet will tell you if you are an infrastructure project, you should be taking these types of photos. If you're a non-infrastructure project, because it's a little bit different, we call them before and after photos, but if you're non-infrastructure, it's more of a in-progress photo. And it will explain that on there. And same thing for, sorry, plans don't have photos, but it'll show it on there, and it'll also show resources. So if you're struggling between, well, if you're non-infrastructure, you're not really sure what kind of photos to take, it'll tell you to contact this email. And also if you're like a safe routes to school, to make sure that you get a photo release form signed and stuff like that. So again, a ton of great resources for those, especially those that are new, not really sure how to do some of the things that are asked in the CalSMART report. If you toggle onto the quarterly progress report, it just explains a little bit. Again, progress reports are due through the CalSMART system. Quick builds, again, do not go into the CalSMART reporting system. Instead, they are done through an Excel form. And then completion and final delivery gives definitions of each. And then supplemental documents. So supplemental documents are required when you submit your final delivery report. Again, all of the other reports are through the CalSMART system, progress, completion, and final delivery. But after you're done submitting a final delivery, you also have to submit supplemental documents. And you submit those to the ATP final reporting at dot.ca.gov email address. And it has a little chart on what kind of documents you have to send. So again, for the combination ones, if you have an infrastructure and non-infrastructure project, you submit the 25T form linked here, as well as the NI and combo project details sheet indicated here. If you're infrastructure only, you only need the 25T. NI only, you only need the NI one. And then for the plan, you only submit the plan one. Again, the photo release form is linked here for those that need it. If you're a safe routes to school or something like that, and you have you're gonna have pictures of children on there. All the questions that you have when you're submitting progress reports and stuff like that, please send them through the ATP final reporting at dot.ca.gov. When you do get emails, the 30, 15 days and stuff like that, it actually comes through the CalSMART system, but the email address that's on there is going to be the SB1 progress reporting email address. That SB1 email address is utilized for all programs that are under SB1, so they get bombarded from all the other programs. If you want a fast response, make sure you email it to the ATP progress reporting email inbox. That way we can respond to you in a timely manner and make sure that you meet that deadline, the 15th or the 16th, depending on the quarter. And if you go to the ATP contacts, we have listed here the contacts that you should be going to. Again, if you have anything that's project specific, please do reach out to your ATP district coordinator first. And then if you have anything that's project related, that's more in detail, like scope or anything like that, then you need to contact our program managers. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to switch over to CalSMART. Let me know if you see the CalSMART screen. Or if I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume you see that.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Marianne. So right now I'm showing you the test site for CalSMART because I want to be able to walk through a couple of projects with you, but we do have the live one, and that's the link that you guys all have access to. So just in case you see this test up here, you won't see that. But and I encourage everybody to get an account as soon as you log off today on this webinar, go onto the CalSMART webpage and register for an account now. Don't wait, and please do get as many accounts as possible. There is no limit. So if you're a huge city like LA, you can have 50 users if you need to, but we would prefer that you have way more users than just one. Because some of the things that we've experienced in the past with these progress reports are there's one user for the local agencies because it's really small, and that user then leaves the office or has moved on to somewhere else, and then now no one's getting any information through the CalSMART system. So even if you know a couple of folks that will not be utilizing CalSMART or submitting progress reports all the time, still tell them to get an account. That way everyone gets an email, and it's a little bit cumbersome when they have to receive all the emails every quarter, but it's still better than someone leaving and then no one having an account. But again, you go into the CalSMART. Yes.
Oh, you're probably going to just talk about it, but we have a question as to how to do that. I assume that's what you're going to go over next.
Yes. Thank you, Marianne. Yes, I will go over how to register. So you go on to CalSMART, and again, it's just calsmart.dot.ca.gov. And that's also linked in the PowerPoint that you all should have received. But if not, you can also go into the reporting webpage. You log into CalSMART, and then you click register. When you register, just ask for your basic information. So your first, last name, your email, phone number, your job title, and then here you'll see programs. The program for ATP is the third one down, other SB1 funded programs. ATP is a part of it, so you will click that, and then you will type in your password, and then you will submit. When you submit it, it will then come to us, and then we will log into CalSMART, and then we will go in and improve your account. When we do, before it comes to us, and so that we can approve your account, you will get an email through the CalSMART system, and it's a verification email to make sure you're not a robot. That verification email will then be sent to that email address that you put on here. There has been some folks that receive that verification or email through spam. So please do check your spam account as well. If you don't receive it, it's pretty fast. So if you register and you haven't seen it within 5 minutes, reach out to us at the ATP Progress Reporting email so that we can see, so that we can do a little bit of a research and see why that may occur. The email address sometimes too. Sometimes we go and we look and see when you register for an account and you didn't get an email. It could be because that email address that you typed in is incorrect. So again, if you don't see that email within 5 minutes, reach out to us, because we have seen a couple of folks that just typed, forgotten a Y or something in their email address, and so it didn't go through. We don't get an email if that's the wrong email address or anything like that, so you do have to reach out to us. Okay, once you register and your email is verified, you then can go into CalSMART. So I'm gonna log in. First thing you do when you log in is you're gonna see a dashboard here. You're gonna see your name. So my name is here and I have a test account under the City of Los Angeles. You'll see a log out button. You'll have a dashboard here and then the users. You might not have users, I think. Let me check. Oh, you do. So your user is just your user information. Right when you log in, you're gonna see a little drop-down menu here under current program. You click on the little caret and it's gonna have the same 4 options that you saw when you're registering for account. Go ahead and click on that other SB1 programs. Again, ATP is on there. And then you will click on progress report. And you will do this also if you're doing a completion or a final delivery report. The first thing you're gonna see are these 3 items: your progress, your profile, and then help and resources. But even if you're submitting a completion or final delivery report, make sure you click on progress report first. And then that's when you get all of these options where you can view your completion and final delivery reports and stuff like that. But if you're reporting for the first time and you want to know, well, which one of your projects are you going to be reporting on for that quarter or are available to report on, whether it be completion or final delivery, you want to click on the view reportable projects. And then here it's going to list all of your projects that you can report on. Again, these are only going to list those that you can still report on. So if you've already submitted a report for that reporting period and you've already submitted a progress report, you won't see it on here. It'll be moved to a different dashboard. Or if you've submitted a final delivery report and it's already been approved, it will not appear on this dashboard. Instead, anytime you've already started a report, it's already been worked on, it's already been submitted on, it'll all open up here on the view progress reports. And so if you're a local agency, you're logged in and you decided, I'm going to start my progress report, and you click in the view reportable projects. Once you've started one and you've walked away, let's say you started it and you need to go find some information, but lunch occurred and you went out to eat lunch and you come back, CalSMART will close, you will log back in. If you come back into the view progress report because you've already started it, it will no longer be in this dashboard. It will then be moved to the view progress report. So just, I've gotten questions before, will local agencies do that? And they come back, like, I don't see the report right anymore. It's because you've already started it. And so it gets moved. So just a little FYI for those. If you go on to view progress reports, there's, as you can tell, City of Los Angeles has a whole ton of ATP projects. With that. Here under required report, you'll see some that's blank. That's because those reports are not required. They're here and available for local agencies to submit, but they are not required because they most likely have already submitted a completion report and their final delivery report is due, but it's not required every quarter. And so that's why it's not required. And then you'll see some that's progress report because those are all required. You'll see on those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to submit a couple of different reports. So those that are infrastructure, non-infrastructure plans, and then combination. First, I'm going to go over an infrastructure project. So let me look for one. I'm going to look for pedestrian and bicycle neighborhood intersection. That's an infrastructure project. So when you go in and you're going to report on your progress report, you click on it, little checkbox, and then you'll see on the bottom here, now you have the option to create a progress report or create a completion report. If you're still in progress, keep it as a progress report. The reason why a completion report now is available is because it's very possible that when you're coming in and you plan to submit a report during an open reporting period, you realize that it completed, and then you're going to submit a completion report. But for this one, I'm going to create a progress report. And then the first thing you're going to see is this first page. And you're going to notice as soon as it opens up and it creates a progress report, I can now not toggle through anything. That is because CalSMART requires that you save it first. That is to let us know that you've already verified everything here. So if you don't click the save button, you won't be able to toggle anywhere. So if you have no updates or no change to this area, go ahead and click save. A little thing to note to you guys though, you know, this contact information here, I know I've had a couple of agencies updated it and then they come back to the next reporting period and they wonder why it's still the same. If you update this contact information, and this information here is the contact information for the project manager. So the project manager in charge of this project, it will not update our ATP database. So again, these records come directly from our ATP database. You will need to contact us again through the ATP reporting progress email inbox and let us know, hey, our program manager has changed. Can you update it for that project? And the reason is because the project manager may stay the same, whereas the person that's preparing this report may differ. So again, the project manager is this person, whereas the prepared by is myself up here. And all communications on the report, so when we send back the report and all that stuff, it will go to the prepared by person. And so this program manager here will not get these email communications on the report. So again, you click on save, and then now you can click on the other tab. So we're going to go to project location. A little map will pop up here. Okay, and then you click I agree. And okay. So it shows here there's already one project location here. You'll see it here. But if not, you will then need to pinpoint it. You can zoom in with your little mouse. You push up to zoom in or push out to zoom out, and you can drag it like any map, and you can have multiple locations. If it's just one area, you can put a dot, or if you want to zoom all the way in and then you want to do like a street area or something, you can draw a line to indicate that your project is from, you know, this area all the way through here. You double click it, and then you'll see that the project location line is now here. And then you click let's see. Okay, yeah, sorry. So for those, if you've so if you're new, the new MPO ones that were adopted, if this is a new first time for you to do a progress report, you do have to draw these, but don't worry, by the time the next reporting period, you do not. Over here on the actions tab, you can click on it. Oh, it probably won't pop up because it's the first time. But if you want to have these copied over so you don't have to do it every single time, you go to actions and there should be an option to say copy data from prior report. This is a new report, so it doesn't have that. But if you've done it before, the last reporting period, you don't have to redraw the lines. You just click on the copy data from prior report. Okay, and then we're going to go to the milestones. So these dates are required for every single one of these milestones. For infrastructure projects, I'm sorry. For infrastructure projects, you have to submit to us all planned completion dates. If they've already been completed, then they get moved over to the actual completion date. So for instance, if I have a planned, because it has to be in the future, planned completion dates are future dates, so you have a planned date. But let's say you log in for the next time, you come in and you realize, well, it's no longer planned, it's actual now. You have to delete this entire date in order for this to pop up, and then you can now put in the actual completion date. But if you don't do that, and let's say you have a date here, you'll see it's grayed out here. You won't be able to enter anything, and then I've gotten questions where local agencies get confused. So remember, you have to completely delete and then move over. So let me enter a couple of dates on here, and then I'll go over the definitions for each. Okay, so for infrastructure projects, baseline agreements, you should already know if your project requires a baseline agreement. The program manager should have reached out to you. But again, baseline agreements are required for projects that have a total project cost of 25 million or more, or a programmed ATP amount of $10 million or more. If you do not fall within those categories, you click not required. If you do fall within those categories, you have to give us the plan and or the actual completion date. PA&ED is the environmental phase. So if you finish environmental or whichever date you plan to put for environmental approval or completion date, that would be the date that you finish environmental. Right-of-way certification, that is required. So even if it is on local right-of-way, you still have to self-certify. And so we do need that certification date. Again, that is required for all. And then ready to list. Ready to list means you've done all pre-construction, you are now ready to allocate your construction. I know that can get a little confusing because there is a ready list when you finish construction, and then not finish. It gets confused with when you allocate construction and then you're ready to list your project to award, but that's not what ready to list means on here. Ready to list on here means that you have then finished all pre-con and you're ready to allocate construction and then begin construction. That is the date in which you awarded your contract out to for infrastructure. End construction is when that construction is now operable, or contract acceptance, whichever one comes first. So if the project is now open and people can start using them, please give us that date, whichever one comes first. And sometimes contract acceptance can take a while. So please do the earliest day first. And then end project. End project is the date in which you have submitted all final invoice and you have finished the after counts, whichever one comes last. That is the end project date for infrastructure projects. Completion and final delivery report dates, these aren't required, but we would still like to have an estimate. But if not, you don't have to enter those dates. We'll realize when we're reviewing your reports when we should be expecting those dates. And again, same thing, you can click on actions and copy data from prior report, and that is the same for every single one of these tabs. So you don't have to re-enter any of these dates. So I'm gonna click save. I'm gonna move on to time extensions. For the time extension tab, all we need from you guys is how much time extension you have received by the CTC. So for instance, you're going through your project and you received an allocation time extension for PA&ED, go ahead and enter that amount there. Same thing for award, expenditure, and completion. We will then, as the reporting coordinators, open up the report and verify it against our database to see if you did receive those time extensions. And again, same thing, actions, copy data from prior report. I'll click save. And go to funding and expenditure. I think I get the most questions on the funding and expenditures tab because it is a little bit different from all the other programs. So for those that have LPP, TCEP, and then do ATP, they get confused on like what's going on. So for ATP projects, again, infrastructure, we require that you provide us planned expenditures at completion for all phases of work. So even if you're only funded for construction, we still want to know, well, how much did you plan to expend, even if it's all local, for PA&ED, PS&E, and then right-of-way as well. For ATP, we lump sum the support into capital, so you don't have to differentiate them out. Please lump them into capital, especially if you're funded for it. Please lump it into capital. So that way, when the expenditures come through, they match. Here you'll see it says SB1 funds, and then I'll say shop, LPP, TCEP, sorry, SCCP, TCEP, and then ATP, and then other funds. This is where it gets a little bit confusing. You'll see that there's some federal funds over here, and it says funding, yes, allocated, but it's federal. That is because ATP has multiple different types of funds, and SB1 is just one of them. For this particular ATP, it is ATP, but it's not SB1 ATP. It's actually funded through federal ATP, and that's why it pops up under federal. If it's funded through ATP that's not SB1 and it's state, then it'll populate under state. And then if it's funded through SB1 ATP, it'll then populate under ATP SB1 here. So I know that gets a little bit confusing. For local and private, we don't have a database or anything that will pull over your estimated local and private from your application. So unfortunately, this will always be blank in the ATP. But you can enter those under additional local. We know it's not additional outside from what you had originally anticipated, but for us, it makes sense if you enter it that way because they don't get pulled over automatically. You enter them under additional local so that we know that your planned expenditure plus your additional will equal your planned at completion. Again, planned expenditure at completion is your total ATP plus your total local plus your total other funds. So if you're also funded through any other program like CMAQ or anything like that, your planned expenditure will include all of that. So again, for infrastructure projects, even if you're only funded for construction, you do need to give us all of your planned expenditure for all of the pre-construction phases as well. And then award amount, I know this is confusing. I wish they had put construction award amount, construction in front. But what they're really asking for is the construction award amount. So not the total you're awarded for through ATP, but the total amount that you had awarded the contractor for construction. I know that can get a little bit confusing. Sometimes if the awarded amount is a little bit too large, it'll flag and say it exceeds the amount. So if it does, again, reach out to us and we can do an override. And once we override it once, you don't have to get an override again. And again, you have to fill out all of that. But for your next report, once you do this one, you can again copy data from prior report. Okay. Outputs tab. So this one's really important. So these outputs that you see here under output, these are what you all indicated in your original application, or if you've gotten scope changes or modifications throughout time, this outputs tab should indicate those approved modifications. And again, these are all pulled from the ATP database. So you'll see under here, it says approved and then anticipated at completion. If you anticipate to complete any more or less, you need to report that to us. It lets us know to look for and see if you've got an approved modification or scope change. So please do indicate the amount. If it's exactly the same, you don't plan to do any less or any more, you enter the amount that's approved and you save. And then you can always add outputs too if you plan to do anything extra outside of what it's adopted for. Outcomes you can totally ignore. ATP does not have any outcomes that's similar to all the other programs, but we do have an ATP user counts, and this is also very different from other programs. No other program has this. ATP user counts. So for those that are new, and ATP is totally new, you've never done an ATP project, we have what is called the interim count guidance. And that count guidance indicates that if you're funded through ATP, and again, this has been done through cycle 1, so these counts are not new. Counts have always been required. It's just we had the interim count guidance approved in 2019 that indicates how you should be doing your counts. So it specifies the count methodologies and when you should be doing them, but the counts themselves have always been required. So the interim count guidance indicates that you must do your counts no more than 6 months. I'm going to mess up the definition, but it's on the cheat sheet. No more than 6 months before the start of the construction phase. And so therefore, we require that in the progress report, if you're close to starting construction, we're going to anticipate before counts in here. And like Tim mentioned in the PowerPoint that he did earlier, it's very important on when you do your before counts, because when you do your after counts, has to be on the same day, month, and same month, week, and day as you did your before count. So it's very, very important that you keep those in mind so that when you do your after counts in your final delivery report, they are done during the same time. So if you miss that time period, we're going to have to start flagging you and seeing why didn't you provide your after counts. So again, your counts are required in the progress reports for before, and then in the after counts are required in the final delivery report, not the completion report. You want to go add a count, you add in a new location, and I'll say location number 1. You can type in your first location, the count type, depending on what it is you're doing, bicycle, pedestrian, the category before, the methodology. There's a few here, but if yours is not here, you click other and then you explain your methodology down here. And then your quantity, so what number of counts did you actually receive when you did your counts, and then the dates, and then project type. We'll put in the dates. Project types are infrastructure, non-infrastructure. Again, counts are required for non-infrastructure as well. The only time counts aren't required is for those plans. And if you are a combination project, I know I'll go over this when I go over the combination ones, but you are required to do both infrastructure and non-infrastructure. And then in your final delivery report, once you do your final delivery report and you do your counts, if you do your count methodology and the after counts are less than your before counts, we do require that you provide us a little explanation as to why. Okay, and like all the other tabs, if you've done it once, you go to actions and copy data from prior report. Doesn't have it now, but copy from prior report and it'll pull over. And again, it's always the prior report. So if your previous report has the counts, it then has something then to pull over to. But if you included the counts in one report and the next reporting period, you had totally forgotten and you didn't copy the data over, then the new reporting period now has nothing to copy over because it'll always copy over the latest progress report. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna click save. And then corrective action plan. If you see any item in regards to your project that is delaying or differing from originally programmed, please let us know everything. Scope, if you feel that you're gonna change your scope or anything like that, or even gonna request a scope, please let us know. Indicate here in the comment box that we plan to do a reduction of scope, X, Y, and Z. We've submitted our scope change to our ATP district coordinators on this date extra so that we know exactly where you are on the project. Same thing for schedule. If you feel like you're a little bit behind schedule, please let us know. Same thing for benefits and cost. Let us know everything so that when we review your report, we know exactly what's going on. We like a lot of information. So if you give us information so that we don't have to send it back to you and ask for that information, we would prefer that you provide it all to us ahead of time. And then photos. Photos, pre-construction photos and post-construction photos are required for infrastructure and non-infrastructure. The only time photo is not required is plan. And again, if you're non-infrastructure, it's more of an in-progress photo instead of pre or post. But again, that's in our cheat sheet on our ATP reporting webpage. Okay. And then you can click and submit the report, and that's it for that. But I wanted to go over very quickly. Let me pull. Oh, I think I exited out. So I know I get a whole ton of questions on combination projects. Let me look up for one. For a combination. I was hoping there was a combination project here, but so for combination projects, if you log into your system, again, combination projects, for those that has had ATP projects for a while, you'll notice that there's an A and a B in the PPNO. When you log into the system and if you see the PPNO, let's say 4866A, that does not mean that that progress report is only specifically for the infrastructure. The reason why it only pulls the A is because the CalSMART system can only pull in over one PPNO. But if you are a combination project and you're funded for a combination project, the progress report in which you're reporting on is for the entirety of the project. Let me just open one. I know it's not a combination, but let's just take a look at it. So if you're a combination project and you're going through the report, you do the typical project locations and milestones and stuff. The only difference in the milestones, if you are a combination projects, because there is only one date that they're asking for, and we're still working with the CalSMART folks to give us more dates. But you'll see here it has begin construction, end construction, then you get confused. Well, what does the end construction and begin construction mean for which part of the work, right? Is it the infrastructure, the non-infrastructure? So the rule of thumb is if you're a combination project, the begin construction is the beginning construction of the work that's done first. So if the infrastructure awarded first, please indicate the date of the infrastructure one. Again, vice versa, if it's non-infrastructure that started first, please indicate the date for that. Same thing for end construction, except do the latest one first. So whichever work is done, the latest, indicate the latest date. And the reason is because the CalSMART system, when the date that you input on here, if it's exceeded the date that you had planned, it'll assume that you're ready to submit a completion report. So please do put the latest work that's done under end construction and the earliest work that's done under begin construction. And then over here on the corrective action plan, again, you can write notes under schedule. Let us know in detail here that you started your infrastructure during this date and you ended your infrastructure on this date, and then you started the non-infrastructure on a date, and then you ended the non-infrastructure on a certain date. So that way we don't have to reach out to you. For funding and expenditure for these combination projects, as you can tell, it only shows construction capital. This will be the total of your infrastructure and non-infrastructure. So it should not be just the total for your infrastructure. What the CalSMART system did was it lumped it all into one. And so again, the construction funding and all that stuff will show both combined. And then under outputs, you'll see all of these, and I know because this specific report is not a non-infrastructure, I won't say it, but it will have, if you're a plan, it'll say plan. And then if it's a non-infrastructure program, if I can find it, there we go. If it's a non-infrastructure program, it'll pull over a non-infrastructure. And it'll say one each, go ahead and under anticipated completion, just put one each. Again, we're still working with our CalSMART team to be able to make it so reporting for non-infrastructure shows more detail instead of just indicating the one program, but that's a work in progress. And then for user counts, same thing. You would give us the location, description, project type would then be non-infrastructure. And then again, you have to provide both types. So if you're a combination project, give us counts for both. Okay. Then again, photos, you would put the infrastructure photos, and then you are able to do additional photos. You can then choose non-infrastructure photos down here. Same thing for post-construction. If you are a plan-only project and it's your first time, so you're newly adopted, and you're a plan, you do have to reach out to us so we can give you a photo exemption. And we are able to give you a photo exemption for the entirety of the reporting for all of your projects. So do reach out to us so we can give you the exemption, because you do not have to give us pre or post construction counts. I mean, sorry, photos. But we have to give you the exemption, or else when you try to submit the report, you will not be able to. Okay, and then for non-infrastructure only projects, you would give us your begin construction. So if you're a non-infrastructure and you are the awardee, so if you're the non-infrastructure and your local agency is the one that will be doing the main or majority of the work, so you're not contracting it out, your begin construction date is the date in which you allocated your funds. That's when your time clock starts for your completion. So once you allocate your money, the assumption is that it is now awarded to you. And then from that date on, you have 36 months to complete your non-infrastructure project. The end construction date is the date in which you finish the program, so the latest program in which you finish. And then the end project date is the same as infrastructure, so it would be when you do final invoice and you finished your after counts. And then all of these other phases of work or milestones of work you obviously don't do because you don't do, you're just a program, so you don't do any of these. And then for plan only projects, all we need from you is the begin construction date, which is the same thing as non-infrastructure folks. It's the date in which you allocate, and then the end project. And that is when you finish final invoice. And again, no counts for you plan folks. Okay, completion report. Again, remember, as soon as you're done, the project is now for infrastructure folks, it's now operable. Submit it as soon as it's operable. Send us a completion report. The after counts are not due in the completion reports. Once you send us that completion report, it lets us know that, oh, you've completed your project, so we can start maintaining and ensuring that we're tracking you in submitting your final delivery reports and stuff like that. Submit your completion report as soon as it's operable for infrastructure, non-infrastructure. As soon as you're done with the last program, submit your completion report. You then can wait from the time you do your completion to final delivery when you're done with your after accounts and final invoice. So when you submit your completion report, let's say you submit your completion report, but you're still waiting, you've already done your final invoices and stuff like that, but you're waiting for the counts because again, the after counts have to be done same day, same month, same week, same day. Then that could be what's delaying you from being able to submit the final delivery report. But you don't want to miss that deadline. That is the time frame in which you want to do the after counts. Because if you miss that date, then you have to then wait a whole nother year. So then you would get prompted and reminded to submit your final delivery report every single time. So please do be very aware of that date, of when you did the before counts so that you can utilize it. For those of you that got adopted, you have allocated your construction 2019 and before, your before counts and stuff you can use from your application. But again, the interim count guidance was approved and adopted in 2019, and it indicated that anybody that allocated construction after October of 2019 has to follow the interim count guidance of when and how you should be doing your counts. Okay, let me check my notes. I want to make sure I covered everything in regards to CalSMART. Okay, yeah, it looks like I have everything that I wanted to cover in CalSMART. I am then going to stop sharing, and then we're going to go over we're going to open it up and then look at the Q&As that you guys had put in. Again, this is the time when you, because I've finished, I want all of you guys to enter your questions that you have so that we can go over them and let us know if there's anything that you need us to clarify or go more into details. Okay, what kind of questions do we have? When will Caltrans require counts for their projects to widen highway that runs through my neighborhood? That's kind of a specific question. I think I need to know what neighborhood you're on so I can kind of try and attempt to answer that question. So the next one, when do we begin reporting through CalSMART? I have not yet received my project allocations. So the SB1 accountability and transparency guidelines specifies that you are required to report progress as soon as you are adopted into the program. So even if you're not planning to allocate your project for the next year or so, you still have to report to us. And for all of the newly MPO adopted projects, you start your first time reporting in October. So October 1st is the day in which you can then log into CalSMART and start reporting on those. Again, it does not matter if your project allocation is not for another year or two. Register for a CalSMART account, please. As soon as you log off today, register for an account so that you can get those notices and reminders about your due dates for your reports. And then for quick reports with con allocation fiscal year 23-24, when we start getting the reporting email notifications. So all of the email notifications already have gone out. I know that there are 2 new quick build projects adopted in cycle 6, and I think those just went out. Sahara, if you did not receive that email, please reach out to the ATP progress reporting email so we can kind of track you down and see who that email did go out to. But it did go out to someone, probably someone that's indicated on the ATP application, because that's our first contact person that we go to. Okay, next question. Our agency partner will be doing NI for 3 years, 6 months after the memorandum of understanding. Should we do a completion report, or should we wait until NI activities are complete? You should wait. So if you're a combination project and your infrastructure has already completed, please do wait to submit the completion report until the non-infrastructure is done. If the project is funded for construction as an agency, we don't necessarily track the expenditures for PS&E, for example. How do we fill this part if it's not tracked? That's a new question, because typically it is tracked. Your local agency is tracking how much you're spending on design and stuff. But all we need is an estimate. So we're not asking to the dollar, to the penny. Just give us an estimate. And then it says, I received an email notification from CalSMART for SB1 progress reporting, which included TCEP award. However, our recent ATP award was not listed there. Should we reach out to ATP coordinators, or are we okay? Yes, please do reach out to ATP. We want to ensure that your project is there to be able to report on. So if you do not see the ATP one there, let us know so that we can figure out where it is. Is there a template for the completion and final delivery reports? There is no template, because it all differs depending on the report that you have, unfortunately. But let us know if you have any specific questions. Like, are you meaning, is there a template on what to fill out for completion and final delivery reports? There is not, because every project is funded through very different phases. And so it's not really easy to put a template out that kind of falls for every single one of the projects. So if you have specific questions, or if you're wondering how to fill out your specific report, again, please do reach out to us, and we can set up a quick 30-minute meeting and kind of walk you through it.
We have
Yeah.
some questions in the chat, so I'll let Dahlia go over those.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go over the chat questions. The first question, I believe, was answered from Joshua Lurd. Dancy answered it. Thank you for putting it in the Q&A. Rosemary, how do you register to CalSMART? I believe Dancy went through registration for CalSMART, and I hope your answer was, your question was answered that way. And then Michael, could you please drop the link into the chat? Thank you, Tim, for providing that link for CalSMART. Question at 10:47, what if there are various locations? Is there a circle function or polygon? I believe that's for a project location. Dancy, if you'd like to answer that.
Yes, and thank you for asking that question. That's probably one of the things I had missed. So if you're a citywide, so you have, citywide, yes, you can draw a little circle around the whole entire area. There is an option to draw a line, a dot, and then let me check again. And then you can draw freehand. And when you click on draw freehand, that allows you to draw a circle or any fancy shape you want to draw.
Thank you, Dancy. I'm looking at the question from Stephen at 10:57. Is there a guidebook or handbook that we can refer to when completing these reporting forms?
Aside from this reporting webinar, and again, we do this specifically for ATP. Aside from this webinar, there are resources in the CalSMART system itself. When you log into CalSMART, there's a little, let me share my screen really quick. Right when you log in, there's 3 little toggles you can click on. There's progress report, my profile, and then help and resources. Here they have, tool tips, and a couple of tutorials and stuff on how to use and toggle through the CalSMART system itself. But for ATP specific ones outside of these webinars, there really isn't any step-by-step written or anything like that, but we can come up with one to share on our ATP reporting website if everyone finds that useful.
Looking at question at 11 a.m. from Rochelle. How many counts can we enter?
How many counts can you enter? At maximum, you can enter 10 at a maximum 10 locations. You can enter multiple counts per location, but only 10 locations maximum. I don't think anyone needs more than 10 other than unless you're a statewide one. But if you're statewide and let's say you have 50 locations or something like that, you enter the 10 maximum allowed, and then the rest you email over to us when you do final delivery, and you email that to us to the ATP final delivery inbox. But as the interim count guidance states, for large projects, I think you only need a maximum of 3 locations. So you shouldn't have the need anything more than that.
Question that came at 11:14 from Michael. Bear with me here. Will you post the question and answer responses in transcript form?
Any responses in transcript form? If it's
Yes.
Q&A, oh,
Yes,
sorry.
I can do that.
Oh,
Okay,
Yes,
thank
Marianne.
you. I was going to mention if it's Q&A, so sometimes when we do these webinars, we get questions that are already in the Q&A, but usually we do look over the Q&As that we get asked during these, and then we update things that are frequently asked that's not already on there. But thank you, Marianne.
Question from Stephen at 11:19. Written instructions are much more useful than videos. Control+F is powerful and more convenient that having to watch a long video over and over. And at 11:20, Michael Williams agree with Stephen above on written and categorized instructions. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of instructions because it's different there's just so many different types of ATP, but I agree. If you guys feel that it's useful, we should come up with it and have it posted.
Dancy, there's a new question in the Q&A.
Okay. For NI parts of our combo projects, do we circle the schools for the area? It depends. If it's statewide, yes, you'd put our circle outside of it, but if you have like 5 schools or something like that, I think it's easier if you put a dot per school. So again, there's 3 options for you to put a line, a point, and then a freehand. If you have, let's say, 5 schools for the NI, you would then put a dot for all 5 schools. Okay, well, this is going a lot quicker than all the other webinars we've had before, so I'm hoping that's a good thing.
Yeah, we have a couple of raised hands. Let me check to see if the people still want to speak. Stephanie Moreno, did you still want to speak? I'm unmuting you if you do.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Luis Norbella. Okay. I don't hear him speaking. I've asked him to unmute if he still has a question. All right, do we have any other questions? Put them in the Q&A or raise your hand and I can unmute you.
It looks like there's a question under Q&A. It says on the count, since there may be many different count locations, is there a strategy on location selection? Can't remember if there's, because the interim count guidance is really long, but let's see. I don't think there's any preferences or anything like that. But strategically, I would say I'm going to assume that is for infrastructure. Strategically, I would say it would be the location in which you did the specific infrastructure.
So Dancy, in the count guidance, there's a section about selecting count locations that has more information about kind of considerations to take when choosing count locations.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm opening it up now. Yeah, if you go into interim count guidance, there's a specific area that says determining the number of count locations needed and also determining the type of count data collection needed. Again, it's a very lengthy, like 26-page guidance that can really help.
Hi, this is Jack. I had a question about the counts. So we have one project that is just about complete, and it's kind of an older one. I think it is like a part of the cycle 3. So it was maybe before this guidance was adopted, like 2019, because I'm looking at the application and the counts were provided then. It sounds like it's pretty different now, the new guidance, and that like, how do you want us to do that? Is it like still, are you looking for us to collect the after counts on the same day, month, etc., or is it just any time? Like, how is it different because it's before 2019?
Yeah, so before 2019, basically the guideline says you can do your before counts, but you can use whatever methodology you want. And then it didn't specify the after counts. So you can do your after counts at any time. As we went through the ATP program, we realized it makes it really hard for us to correctly compare your counts to show that there is true benefit if it's done at an after time, but in a high volume. So if you do your before counts in the winter, but you do your after counts in the summer, it's going to have more high volume because people are going to be out in the summer more. So that's not a true comparison. And so the interim count guidance really specifies that you do it around the same month, day, and week so that we can accurately compare them. If you are a program that is kind of old, the interim count guidance indicates that if you allocated construction after October 2019, then you have to follow the interim count guidance. Now, if you allocated construction before that, then you can use whatever methodology or counts that you did in your original application. And then for the after counts, for those that did not follow interim count guidance, you do the same methodology as your that you utilized in your application.
Okay, so it's based on the construction allocation, not the program adoption.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think the next one says, do you need a baseline agreement if the grant is over 10 million or if the total project cost is over 10 million? So you are required a baseline agreement if your total grant is over 10 million or your total project cost is over 25 million. And your project manager or someone should have been reached out to by the program managers or someone from Caltrans. So someone that's aware of that project should we be well aware if they should have a baseline agreement. So you can grab that date from whoever's been working with Caltrans.
Zuhair has a question.
Yeah, my question, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. My question, you mentioned Exhibit 25T that has to be submitted as a part of the final completion report. I looked at the LAPG, I don't see any 25T. Am I looking at the wrong link here?
I don't know if it's, let me check. It should be a part of the LAPG, although I will say that ATP may have been moved from originally 25 to 22. But if whichever one is ATP, it should be in there. But if it isn't, you can locate it on our ATP reporting webpage. And honestly, all it has, it's a one questionnaire for the 25T for those that are curious. It's just a one questionnaire on did you use core, and if you did, have. That's it. It's not a long form or anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any raised hands, I'm going to go back to the Q&A. I answered the baseline agreement. I answered the 25T, and then it says for counts. This is your first time reporting in October. We will only put the before counts. Only if you are 6 months before start of construction. So when we say that counts are required in progress report, we don't mean as soon as you're adopted into the program. But again, it depends on where you are in the project. So some folks that are newly adopted are already near construction, so they only came in to ask for construction funds. If you are 6 months to the start of before your start of construction, yes, you do need those before counts. But if you are way early on into your project, let's say you're only in P&AD, we do not require counts yet. But yes, before counts are required in progress reports 6 months before start of construction, and then after counts are required in the final delivery report, same month, day, and time as the before counts. Okay, next question. Says I'm not familiar with the topic, so I just want to ask a basic question. What type of project we need to do ATP report? Does any local road improvement project also require that, if the road is within city or county jurisdiction? So only those programs, only those Caltrans programs that are SB1 funded are required to report progress through the CalSMART system so far. This may change in the future depending on how management wants to do it at some point, but so far the CalSMART system is only for those that are funded through SB1. Okay, next question. If we are awarded ATP funds for construction, what content would be required within completion and final delivery reports? So even if you're funded for construction only, so I don't want to assume that. If we are awarded for ATP funds for construction, so I wasn't sure if that question is for construction only or you're funded for everything plus construction, but the contents are required for a completion report is all the same as you would for a progress report. The only difference is that you then would provide us the actual completion dates. So that's it. Same thing as progress reports, except you give us the actual completion, post-construction photos and stuff like that. The final delivery, the difference is by the time you do a final delivery report, we expect that you have submitted all of your invoices to Caltrans district staff. So you submitted your final invoice, you've done your after counts, you've done your supplementals that's indicated on our ATP reporting website. then you submit your final delivery. When do you know if your report has been approved for completion final delivery reports? Will the HQ approval date have a date next to the project? Does the status need to say approved? Yes. That's a really good question. So Caltrans is going through a process right now. We're getting a couple of our district folks involved in requiring that they review your projects that are completed. And so because of that, it's taking us a while to approve the actual final delivery reports. And so while we're going through these reports, you submit a completion, we notify our district folks to review the photos that you provided or walk your project to make sure that you're in compliance. They then will let us know that, yeah, it's a-okay, we can then approve the report. But for final delivery report, if there are any issues, then all of those issues needs to be met and discussed and all that stuff before we can approve those. So we are going through those. The district folks are helping us a whole ton right now, and so we plan to see those start seeing the approval times and dates and stuff like that in the next coming months. Okay, next question. I'm new to this. Where can I learn more about this? Does Caltrans have a cheat sheet or other resources so I may catch up? Yes, so there are a couple of guidelines you want to read up are the ATP guidelines, the SB1 accountability guidelines, and then the interim count guidance. But if you do want to catch up, those are the three main things you do want to read up on. If you want a cheat sheet on everything, we have all of that available on our ATP reporting website. Okay, and then construction only. I think that was specific to the earlier question. I think was still answered, but if not, let me know again. We just received allocation letter, but not the agreement. Should we report in CalSMART in October for this quarter? Yes. Yeah, so again, progress report is required as soon as you're adopted into the program, not when you do your first allocation. So everyone in cycle 6 was adopted latest month was June. So everyone at cycle 6 is required to report their progress on their project in October. Again, if you haven't started yet, then the progress report should be easy. It's just giving us a couple of planned dates and planned expenditures and stuff like that. But yes, you are required even if you have not allocated yet. When you say we need to complete the after counts on the same day as before counts, does that mean that if we collect counts March 2022, then we need to conduct counts on March again? Not again if you haven't completed your project. And then it says, or do you mean if we collected the counts on a Wednesday on the 3rd week, then we have to collect it? Then that is when we need to collect the after counts.
Sorry, I guess my question was like, so March 23rd, 2022, it was a Wednesday. The project's complete. We need to conduct the after counts. Is it March 23rd? This year is a Saturday. So we wouldn't collect it on, like, we wouldn't compare Wednesday data to Saturday data. Like, so I guess I'm confused. What's the date? Would it be March 20th because that's a Wednesday in the same week of March?
Yes. Yes.
It's not
So
the
it'd
same
be the same
date.
Wednesday.
It's okay.
Yes.
The same day of week in the same week of the month. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are any questions, if you'd like to ask them orally, raise your hand.
Okay, well, I don't see any new questions in the Q&A or the chat, and I know it's...
We have a raised hand, just a second. Trying to get him.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, sure. Would you mind raising your hand again? I'm sorry, I lost you.
Marianne, it's Joshua Laird.
Thanks.
Of course.
Okay, am I on? All right, so in your clicking through the progress reports, we get to see what those look like, and I've done a few of them already. But for the completion reports and the final delivery reports, what do those look like? Is it the same type of data that goes into them? Is it the same kind of fields?
Yes, it's the same field except for if you've completed your project in the completion report, then we expect the after photos, whereas progress report, we wouldn't expect that for completion reports. And then also the milestones, it would then be the completed milestones. I'm trying to remember, it's not planned. But yeah, it's essentially the same tab, same questions. It's just that we're expecting some of the information at that point because it's completed for the completion reports. For final delivery report, same thing. We still need the after photos and everything you've done exactly on the completion report, except that we require that you provide to us also the after counts.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question. You can start a report and save as you go, or do you have to save and complete at that time? You can start a report and save as you go, but like I mentioned earlier, when you go into CalSMART, if you're starting a report for the first time, it'll show up under View Reportable Projects. But let's say you start that report already and you go out to lunch or something and you come back and it requires you to log out and log back in. That report that you started already will then get moved to View Progress Report. And so you'd have to look for it there. Just so that you don't log in during a progress reporting period and try and find it under View Reportable Project and it's not there anymore. I hope that answers that question. Do we submit before counts in each quarter or just the first report and then the after counts until the completion report? You submit the before counts only you submit the before counts in the progress report in which you need to submit the before counts. But yes, every time you submit a new progress report thereafter, you do need to copy your data over and you do have to include the before counts. Again, if you forget, let's say one quarter you come in and you've already done your before counts in the previous quarter, but your current quarter, if you forget to submit the before counts, when we're reviewing it, we're not going to know that you submitted the counts before, because again, there's like 1,000 ATP projects. So we do need to know that you've included it in every single one of your progress report. And again, if you've already done it, it's as easy as copying your data over from the prior report. Okay, well, I don't want to hold everybody here. So if anybody has any more questions or chats, anything that you'd like to discuss, feel free to reach out to us to the ATP Progress Reporting webpage. Please do fill out the questionnaire at the end of this Zoom. Let us know what else we could add for the next time if we ever have another one. so that it can better help us understand your needs. Other than that, I really do appreciate everyone attending. And again, reach out to the ATP Progress Reporting inbox if you have any questions. The reporting period will open on the 1st. Please do log into CalSMART on the 1st, so that if you go through it and have any questions, you can reach out to us and we can help you as soon as we can before the deadline. All right, I appreciate everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, and everything will be posted on CalSMART, and please fill out the survey.